This section in the training covers the modeling capabilities that are available from the National Weather Service in support of an incident. Now, many emergency management officials are familiar with CAMU-ALOHA, but a model the National Weather Service can provide is HiSplit. HiSplit can calculate many of the same things CAMU-ALOHA can, such as trajectories, concentration, deposition, and dosage patterns for many different release types. But the difference between HiSplit and CAMU-ALOHA is that HiSplit can calculate these things based on changes in the temporal and spatial scale of the winds and stability. Or in other words, CAMU-ALOHA assumes a constant state in the weather at the surface when performing its calculations, while HiSplit can calculate changes in the plume based on changing weather conditions both at the surface and through the boundary layer of the atmosphere. Now, CAMU-ALOHA is typically used for events that are smaller in time, whereas HiSplit can be used in longer duration events in which the weather will be changing. These longer duration events are often larger in areal scale as well. So let's take a look at two recent incidents that occurred right here in Texas in which HiSplit was used. The first incident that we'll look at is the BP refinery explosion in Texas City, and the second one we'll look at is the Formosa explosion in Point Comfort, Texas. Here's some background information on the BP refinery explosion. It occurred in March of 2005 at the nation's third largest refinery. This refinery produces jet fuels, diesel fuels, and chemical feedstocks. 15 fatalities occurred and hundreds were injured in this incident. And the explosion forced officials to order a shelter in place for nearby residents and schools. Now, the Formosa explosion occurred in October of 2005 in Point Comfort. It occurred in a unit of the plant where the building blocks of plastic are made. This plant employed at the time 1,500 people. There were 11 injured, 2 seriously in this explosion. And like the BP refinery event, shelter-in-place orders were issued for nearby residents of Point Comfort and Port Lavaca during the Formosa event. Now, in both the BP refinery event and the Formosa event, HiSplit was run. And it was the transport and dispersion information contained within HiSplit that helped the emergency managers make those appropriate shelter-in-place decisions when minutes counted. Let's take a look at the actual HiSplit model data from these incidents. And here's the HiSplit output from the BP refinery explosion. HiSplit is available in two formats. On the left, you see the GIF format, and this format is a lower resolution format. And on the right is the GIS format, which is much greater in resolution. Both the GIF and the GIS shapefile can be emailed to you during an incident. Here's the HiSplit GIF output for the Formosa explosion of 2005. And this was the GIS format. Now, HiSplit can be a very important tool to use when officials need to make decisions on who should shelter in place. Now, to simply request HiSplit, call the National Weather Service. The HiSplit model can usually be ran and sent to you in as little as 15 to 30 minutes. Instructions on how to call the National Weather Service and request HiSplit, as well as what information to provide about the incident, can be found at the end of the Forecaster Expertise section of this training, which is the last section. Now, the next section we will discuss is the warning dissemination capabilities available through the National Weather Service in support of an incident.